What if I told you one of the smoothest, smartest adventure movies ever made was also a remake of the film that helped create the swashbuckler on screen? What if the man behind the mask came from a story so powerful that the movies helped change the title people remembered forever? The final duel was built by one of Hollywood's great fencing families, and the whole film was crafted so cleverly that even the editing helped turn Zorro into a legend? And stay with me, because one of the biggest surprises has less to do with the cape and sword than with the way this movie was engineered to feel fast, elegant, and almost impossibly effortless. These are 20 weird facts about The Mark of Zorro from 1940. Number 20. Zorro was already a screen legend before this movie existed. By the time Tyrone Power put on the mask in 1940, Zorro was not a new character. He began in 1919 in Johnston McCulley's serialized story, The Curse of Capistrano. Then the 1920 Douglas Fairbanks film turned him into a major screen hero. So before the 1940 movie ever rolled a camera, Zorro already had literary history, movie history, and public recognition behind him. That is a lot of pressure for any remake. Because if you are going to bring back a hero audiences already think they know, you need exactly the right star to make him feel new again. Luckily, Fox had one. Number 19. Tyrone Power wasn't discovered by this movie. He was crowned by it. This is important. The Mark of Zorro did not take an unknown actor and turn him into a star. It took an already famous leading man and gave him one of the roles that locks a career into place. Before this, Tyrone Power had already starred in major films like Alexander's Ragtime Band, Jesse James, Brigham Young, and Johnny Apollo. So audiences already knew the face. What Zorro did was give that face a legend. And that is different. Because once this movie worked, Power was not just a leading man anymore. He was the kind of star who looked born to wear a cape, smile through danger, and leave a mark on the wall before the villains ever knew what hit them. And the really clever part is, the movie does not make him look impressive all the time. Sometimes, it makes him look ridiculous on purpose. Number 18. The whole movie works because its hero is basically an actor. Zorro is not just a fighter, he's a performer. As Don Diego, Tyrone Power gives you silk, laziness, softness, and almost comic weakness. As Zorro, he gives you nerve, grace, speed, and command. Turner Classic Movies notes that a surprising amount of the film's dramatic energy comes from Diego's double identity rather than non-stop action. And the Library of Congress also highlights Power as convincingly foppish by day. That means the pleasure is not just watching a hero defeat villains. It is watching him fool everyone first. He controls a room by pretending he cannot. He hides strength inside absurdity. He turns style into strategy. And once you see that, the whole film gets sharper. Because this is not just an action picture. It is an identity game. And the man shaping that game knew exactly what he was doing. Ruben Mamoulian made the movie feel elegant on purpose. A lesser director might have treated this like pure action. Ruben Mamoulian does something smarter. He makes the film graceful. Britannica calls it a classic swashbuckler. And Turner Classic Movies notes that Mamoulian did not overload it with non-stop daring-do. Instead, he gave it shape, control, and polish. That is a huge reason the movie still feels so good. It glides, it pauses, it teases, it smiles before it strikes. Instead of exhausting the audience, it draws the audience in. That kind of control matters. The movie never feels frantic. It never feels like it's trying too hard. It always seems to know exactly how much style to use and exactly when to use it. And one of the tricks that helped create that smoothness was not just acting or direction, it was editing. Number 16. Some of the movie's speed is actually an editing illusion. One reason The Mark of Zorro feels so quick on its feet is that the movie knows how to cheat beautifully. The Library of Congress notes that Ruben Mamoulian cleverly cuts in and out of scenes to heighten the drama and action. That is a great old Hollywood trick. The movie feels like it is always moving, always flowing, always one step ahead. But a lot of that momentum is being created in the cutting room. That is why the film feels smooth instead of heavy. It is not just staged well, it is shaped well. And that shaping becomes even more important once Basil Rathbone arrives to give the movie sharper teeth, because a great swashbuckler still needs danger. Number 15. Basil Rathbone doesn't just play the villain, he gives the movie its edge. A great swashbuckler needs a villain who can do more than glower. It needs someone who can actually challenge the hero's style. That is Basil Rathbone. As Captain Esteban Pascal, He gives the movie discipline, arrogance, menace, and exactly the right kind of elegant danger. Britannica specifically highlights the performances of Tyrone Power, Linda Darnell, and Basil Rathbone as central to the film's success. He is not chaos. He is control in the wrong hands. And that is why he is so good here. He does not just oppose the hero, he sharpens him. By the time the duel arrives, the audience is not just waiting for swords to clash. They are waiting to see whether charm and grace can beat cold authority. And that duel works because it was not improvised or left to chance. It was built. Number 14. The final duel was built by one of Hollywood's great fencing families. The showdown in The Mark of Zorro works because experts built it. Turner Classic Movies notes that the duel was choreographed by Fred Cavens, one of Hollywood's great fencing masters. And in one of the best behind-the-scenes details in the whole movie, Tyrone Power was doubled in the long shots by Albert Cavens, Fred Cavens' son. This is fantastic. It means the film's most famous fight was not just a star moment. It was the work of a screen fencing family helping create one of Hollywood's great sword fights. And you can feel that craftsmanship in the scene. The duel has rhythm, escalation, precision. It feels dangerous without turning messy. That is not accidental, it is engineered. And it is a huge reason the climax still lands so hard today. But the movie is doing something else impressive too. It is not just revisiting old ground, it is remaking something much bigger than that. Number 13. Tyrone Power wasn't playing a new hero, he was taking over an icon. This is one of the hidden challenges behind the whole movie. By 1940, Zorro already had serious screen history. The 1920 Douglas Fairbanks film had helped turn the character into a movie legend and shape the swashbuckler as audiences came to know it. So Tyrone Power was not just being asked to wear the mask, he was being asked to inherit it. And that makes what he accomplished here even more impressive. Because instead of getting trapped in somebody else's version, he made the role feel fresh, elegant, and fully his own. And honestly, that tells you a lot about how good he was. He had to play charm, disguise, comedy, romance, and heroism all at once, and make it all look effortless. Number 12. The title almost took the mystery out of Zorro. Here's a fun one. Zorro first appeared in 1919 as Johnston McCulley's story, The Curse of Capistrano. Then the hit 1920 Douglas Fairbanks movie used the title The Mark of Zorro, and that is the name that really stuck. Later editions of the story even used it too. But during development, the 1940 version was at one point linked to the working title, The Californian, and thank goodness they did not go with that. The Californian is not terrible, but it sounds ordinary. It sounds flat. It takes the mystery out of the whole idea. The Mark of Zorro sounds sharp, mysterious, dangerous, like somebody has already been here and left a warning behind. And keeping that title was the smart move, because by 1940, The Mark of Zorro already had a history behind it. Keeping it helped preserve the whole Zorro idea, not just for the 1940 film, but for many Zorro movies and versions that came after it. But titles alone do not make a movie feel effortless. Craft does. Number 11. Linda Darnell helped give the movie its romantic glow. This movie has wit, it has danger, it has style. But without Linda Darnell, it could have turned a little cold. Darnell was already rising fast when she stepped into this role, and the female lead mattered enough that Ann Baxter was also considered for it before Darnell got the part. Baxter later became a major star in her own right, but Darnell was a beautiful fit for this particular movie. That tells you something important. The studio knew this role needed the right presence opposite Tyrone Power, and Darnell gives the film exactly what it needs. Warmth, glamour, softness. A romantic glow that keeps the movie from becoming all swordplay and swagger. She helps make the film feel inviting instead of hard-edged, and that is a big part of why the whole thing works so well. Up to this point, the story behind this movie is all identity, style, and movie magic. From here on out, the film gets bigger in legacy, and much sharper in impact. Number 10. This version gets smarter by choosing style over showing off. Instead of trying to compete with the earlier film on sheer acrobatics, the 1940 version does something smarter. It leans into elegance. Turner Classic Movies points out that Tyrone Power was never going to bring the same physicality Douglas Fairbanks did, and the movie understood that. So instead of trying to outdo the older version on spectacle alone, this one becomes smoother, more romantic, more ironic, and more dependent on disguise and mood. That is why it works. It does not try to win by being bigger, it wins by being sharper. That shift is what helps the 1940 version feel fresh instead of secondhand. And once that choice clicked, the movie stopped being just a successful remake. It became the Zorro for many viewers, and the music helps sell that immediately. Number 9. Alfred Newman's score doesn't just support the movie, it crowns it. A film like this does not feel heroic by accident. A huge part of that comes from Alfred Newman's music. Turner Classic Movies specifically calls it his rousing, Oscar-nominated score, and the American Film Institute records the nomination for Best Original Score. That music does not just sit under the action, it elevates the action. It introduces the hero like a legend entering the room. It gives romance more sweep and danger, more grandeur. The film does not just show you Zorro, it announces him. And once that music starts doing its work, the entire movie stands taller. Which is one reason later Zorros had such a hard act to follow, because this version did not just succeed, it refined the character. This version helped teach later Zorros how to be Zorro. Turner Classic Movies says this movie raised the bar for later incarnations of the masked hero. That feels exactly right, because after this, Zorro could not just be masked. He had to be stylish. Amused, graceful, quick, romantic. The kind of hero who humiliates power as beautifully as he defeats it. That is what this film locks into place. It does not just keep the character alive, it refines him. And once a movie becomes the version later films have to answer to, it stops being just a hit. It becomes a standard. And the timing helped too. Number 7. The movie fit its moment perfectly. The Mark of Zorro opened in November 1940. That timing matters. The world was growing darker, and audiences still had a strong appetite for heroic escape. You can see why it played so well in 1940. It offers a polished fantasy of justice, defiance, and heroic style. This is not a war film, but it is a justice fantasy. A fantasy of elegant defiance, and those fantasies tend to last when they arrive at the right moment. Which this one did. And it helps that the movie also looked exactly right for the kind of hero it was presenting. Number 6. Being black and white actually helps the movie. Unlike The Adventures of Robin Hood, this film is black and white, and that turns out to be one of its strengths. The shadows feel richer, the cape feels sharper, the mask feels cleaner. The whole movie feels less like a parade and more like a challenge. Zorro belongs to contrast. He is not a bright daytime legend, he is a nighttime signature. And that difference in look helps explain why this movie feels distinct even among the great swashbucklers of its era. It is elegant, but also just a little dangerous. And that is exactly the mood the climax needs, because the duel is one of the biggest reasons the whole movie lasts. Number 5. The final duel is one of the big reasons this movie lasts. A lot of films promise a great ending and then rush it. This one earns its duel. And by the time Tyrone Power and Basil Rathbone finally meet blade to blade, the movie has already built the right amount of tension, danger, style, and personal stakes. So the fight does not just feel like action. It feels like destiny arriving. The Library of Congress itself singles out the ending as a thrilling duel between Rathbone and Power, which tells you how central that scene is to the film's lasting reputation. That is why it lands. Not just because the swords move fast, but because everything in this movie has been moving toward the clash from the beginning. And because so much care went into building it, the duel still feels handcrafted instead of generic. That kind of payoff is rare. And once the movie delivers it, the rest of the film suddenly feels locked into permanence, which is one reason Tyrone Power stays so closely tied to it. Number 4. This role became one of Tyrone Power's defining images. Some actors are well cast, some are fatefully cast. This is one of those latter cases. The Mark of Zorro gave Tyrone Power one of the screen images that stayed with him. The aristocratic romantic hero who can smile, deceive, and fight with equal ease. He is not just attractive here. He is correct. The role fits the face, the voice, the movement, the tone, all of it. And when that kind of casting happens, a movie stops feeling temporary. It starts feeling inevitable. Which is a big reason why this one lasted as powerfully as it did. And it also helps explain why the film feels bigger than just a good old adventure movie. Number 3. The movie proves a swashbuckler can be smart, romantic, and thrilling at the same time. Some adventure films give you motion without elegance. Some give you elegance without excitement. The Mark of Zorro gives you both. Britannica calls it a classic swashbuckler. And that feels right. It is romantic without turning mushy, funny without becoming silly, and exciting without losing control. That balance matters, because it helped prove the genre could be refined, could be witty, could be graceful and still crowd-pleasing. And when a film finds that balance, audiences tend to keep passing it down, which is exactly what happened here. Number 2, the film didn't just survive, it became a standard. A lot of old adventure films are remembered fondly. Fewer became the version later films have to answer to. The Mark of Zorro became one of those. That is why its influences lingers mostly in later Zorros. It is not just admired, it became part of the standard later versions had to answer to. It stayed, and not politely. It stayed because it was too clean, too sharp, and too well built to vanish. And that brings us to the last fact. Number 1, this movie didn't just leave a mark on the wall, it left a mark on Hollywood. The Mark of Zorro endured because too many things went right at once. The star, the villain, the romance, the disguise, the score, the duel, the tone. It all locks together. That is why later Zorros have to deal with it. Why the film ended up in the National Film Registry. It did not just survive, it became one of the definitive versions of a screen legend. Not because it was the loudest, but because it was one of the cleanest, smartest, and most controlled adventure movies ever made. And that kind of confidence lasts. So those were 20 weird facts about the Mark of Zorro from 1940. One of the sleekest, smartest, and most influential swashbucklers ever made. And if you enjoyed this masked adventure classic, don't stop here. Watch my video on The Adventures of Robin Hood next. Because if the Mark of Zorro gives you a hero who wins with elegance, disguise, and razor-sharp style, Robin Hood gives you heroic rebellion on a bigger, brighter canvas, with technicolor pageantry, unforgettable archery, and one of the most joyful adventure performances ever put to film. So if you love classic adventure, that is the perfect next watch. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.